Lily Bennet had not set foot in Evermore Manor in over a decade. The mansion, with its towering spires and ivy-covered walls, loomed before her as she stood at the iron gates. The chill autumn wind whipped through her coat, carrying with it the scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. A sense of unease settled within her as she stared at the grand house. Her mother, the last of the Bennet family to live in the house, had passed away just weeks ago. With her death, Lily inherited everything, including the crumbling mansion that had been abandoned for years. Lily had not come back for the house itself but for closure. The memories of her childhood had been marred by the house's eerie silence, its dark corners, and the whispering echoes of long-forgotten secrets. As she approached the front door, her heart pounded. She had no idea what she might find inside. The house felt almost alive, as though it were holding its breath, waiting for her to uncover the truths buried within its walls. The heavy oak door creaked open with a groan, revealing the grand foyer. Dust motes floated in the dim light, and the air was thick with the scent of neglect. Lily's footsteps echoed as she stepped inside, her gaze sweeping over the familiar yet unsettling surroundings. Her memories rushed back, the laughter of her parents, the scent of her mother's perfume, the feel of the grand staircase beneath her feet. But those memories quickly faded, replaced by a deep sadness. She could almost hear her mother's voice, calling out to her, warning her to stay away from certain parts of the house. Lily shook her head, pushing those thoughts aside. She needed to focus. It was time to sort through the past, to face the things she had avoided for years. As she walked deeper into the mansion, she spotted a closed door at the end of the hallway. It had always been locked when she was a child. Her curiosity piqued. She felt a strange compulsion to open it. But before she could reach for the door handle, she heard a faint noise, like the rustling of paper. Turning quickly, she looked toward the source of the sound. It came from the library. The door to the room stood ajar, the dim light from the hallway spilling into the room. She hesitated for a moment before walking toward it. The room was exactly as she remembered. Rows upon rows of bookshelves filled with dusty tomes, a large polished desk in the center of the room. But something was different. A book lay open on the desk, the pages fluttering as if caught by an invisible wind. Lily stepped closer, her breath shallow. The book was old, its leather cover cracked and worn. As she reached out to touch it, a sudden chill swept through the room, sending a shiver down her spine. Just then a voice echoed from the shadows. "You shouldn't be here, Miss Bennet." Lily froze, her heart racing in her chest. Lily's hand hovered just above the book, her pulse quickening as she tried to comprehend the voice that had spoken from the shadows. She slowly turned around, her eyes scanning the darkened corners of the room. Her mind raced, wondering who could be in the room with her, yet the space appeared empty. "Who's there?" Lily's voice was barely a whisper, as though the words could wake something from the past. The silence was almost deafening. Then, slowly, a figure stepped out from behind one of the towering bookshelves. It was Mrs. Whitmore, the old caretaker who had worked for the Bennets for as long as Lily could remember. Her frail form was draped in an old faded gown, her silver hair pulled back into a tight bun. "You shouldn't be here, Miss Bennet," Mrs. Whitmore repeated, her voice softer now but still filled with an undeniable urgency. "This house. It has a way of remembering things. Things that are best left forgotten." Lily felt a chill run through her as she looked into Mrs. Whitmore's pale blue eyes. There was something unsettling about her, something in the way she spoke that made Lily feel like she was being warned about more than just the house. "I came to find the truth," Lily replied, her voice steady, though doubt flickered in her chest. "My mother's secrets, the history of this house. I need to understand." Mrs. Whitmore's expression softened, but only for a moment. She stepped closer to Lily, her shoes making soft, muffled sounds on the wooden floor. "There are things here, Miss Bennet, things you are not meant to know," Mrs. Whitmore said. "The past cannot be changed, and some things are better left buried." Lily took a deep breath, the words weighing heavily on her heart. "I have to know. It's the only way to move on. My mother kept so much hidden." "Why?" Mrs. Whitmore looked over her shoulder nervously before speaking again. "It's not your mother you should be worried about, Miss Bennet. It's your family's legacy. This house. It holds the key to something far darker than you could ever imagine." The old woman's words left a heavy silence between them. Lily's curiosity grew, but so did the fear gnawing at the edges of her mind. What had her family been involved in all those years ago? What had happened here during the war? And what had her mother kept hidden for so long? Mrs. Whitmore's hand shook as she reached for Lily's, pressing a small, yellowed envelope into her palm. "Take this," she whispered. "It's the first step. But beware, Miss Bennet. Once you open it, there will be no turning back." Before Lily could ask another question, Mrs. Whitmore turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Lily standing alone in the dim light of the library. Lily's fingers trembled as she stared at the envelope. The wax seal was old, cracked, and had the faintest trace of a symbol she didn't recognize. Without another moment's hesitation, she carefully broke the seal, unfolding the letter inside. The words were written in an elegant hand, but as she read, the blood drained from her face. Lily's hands shook as she carefully unfolded the letter. The elegant handwriting swirled across the yellowed paper, each word seemingly pulling her deeper into the mystery she had come to unravel. As she read, the room around her seemed to fade away, leaving only the truth that was about to surface. The letter began. "My dearest Lily, if you are reading this, it means the time has come. The house you now stand in holds secrets. Secrets that have been buried for generations. This is your inheritance, not just of property, but of a burden you must carry. Your father, my beloved son, was involved in something darker than you can imagine. He thought it could be erased, but nothing is ever truly forgotten. It's hidden here, in the very walls you now call home. Look to the garden where the roses bloom. There lies the answer to all your questions. But beware, for the truth will change everything. With love, your grandmother." Lily felt a chill run through her as she read the last few words. Her grandmother's handwriting was unmistakable, but the warning was like a cold hand gripping her heart. What had her father been involved in? What secrets had he hidden so carefully, even from her mother? Her heart raced as the words sank in. The garden. The roses. It was the very spot where Lily had spent hours with her father as a child, sitting beside the blooming flowers, listening to his stories about their family's history. Could it really be true? Was the answer to all her questions hidden in that garden? Lily folded the letter carefully and stuffed it into her coat pocket. She needed to go to the garden now, but a growing sense of unease followed her every step as she made her way out of the library. As she passed through the darkened hallway, she could hear the faint sound of footsteps behind her. She froze, listening intently, but the footsteps stopped as soon as she did. Was someone following her? She turned quickly, but again, the hallway was empty. Trying to shake off the feeling, Lily hurried outside. The cool evening air greeted her as she stepped into the garden. The moon hung high above, casting a soft silver light across the sprawling grounds. The roses, thick with layers of petals, stood out in stark contrast to the rest of the garden's shadows. Lily's eyes scanned the rows of flowers, searching for something, anything that might explain the cryptic message her grandmother had left her. She kneeled down beside one of the rose bushes, its vibrant red petals glistening in the moonlight. The earth felt warm beneath her fingers as she brushed the soil aside, revealing a small, weathered box hidden beneath the roots. Her breath caught in her throat as she gently pried open the box. Inside was an old key, tarnished with age, along with a small folded piece of paper. She unfolded the note which read, "The door to the past is locked, but the key lies within you. Trust what you find, for it will be the key to your freedom." Lily's mind raced. What door? What past? And how could a key, buried so long ago, have anything to do with her freedom? Suddenly, she felt the weight of the mystery closing in on her. The garden, her father's secrets, her grandmother's warning. It was all too much to process in one moment. But one thing was certain. The key she held was just the beginning, and what came next would either unravel everything or change her life forever. The air was thick with anticipation as Lily stood there in the garden, holding the tarnished key. Her heart raced as she scanned the area around her, but nothing appeared out of the ordinary. There was no hidden door, no sign of what the letter had spoken of. But something deep within her stirred. She knew the answer had to be close. The moonlight bathed the garden in a silvery glow, and Lily's gaze landed on the old oak tree at the far corner of the grounds. She had always found it comforting, a symbol of strength and stability in the ever-changing landscape of Hawthorn Hill. Yet tonight, the tree seemed almost ominous, as if it were hiding something from her, something important. With a deep breath, Lily made her way toward the oak tree. Her feet crunched softly against the gravel path, the only sound in the stillness of the night. She reached the massive trunk and placed her hand on the rough bark, her fingers trailing over the weathered surface. It felt warm to the touch, as if the tree were alive, breathing with her. Lily's eyes were drawn to the base of the tree, where the roots twisted and knotted into the earth. Beneath the roots, she could make out a faint outline of something. A door? A small wooden door, barely visible beneath the thick layer of moss and ivy that had grown over it. Her breath caught in her throat. Could this be it? The hidden door her grandmother had mentioned? Without hesitation, Lily dropped to her knees and began to clear away the moss and ivy. Her fingers scraped against the rough wood, but she didn't care. She had to see what was hidden beneath. Minutes passed, but finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Lily uncovered the door completely. It was small, no taller than her waist, with intricate carvings along the edges. The wood was old, but sturdy, and the keyhole gleamed in the moonlight. Her hands trembled as she inserted the key into the lock, the metal sliding in with ease. She turned it slowly, the sound of the tumblers clicking echoing through the silent garden. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow passageway leading underground. A chill ran down Lily's spine as she peered into the darkness. There was no turning back now. She had to find out what lay beneath Hawthorn Hill, and she had to do it alone. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the passageway. The air was damp and cool, and the walls seemed to close in on her as she descended. Her footsteps echoed softly, the only sound breaking the heavy silence of the underground. The passage twisted and turned, leading her deeper into the earth. As she walked, she felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. Whatever was down here had been hidden for a reason, and whatever secrets her father had kept, they were about to come to light. Lily's heart pounded in her chest as she rounded a corner, and suddenly, the passage opened up into a large underground chamber. The room was dimly lit by a single flickering torch on the wall, casting long shadows across the stone floor. In the center of the room stood an old wooden chest, its surface worn and faded with age. She approached the chest cautiously, her breath shallow with anticipation. Could this be the key to the mystery her family had kept hidden for so long? Lily knelt beside the chest and slowly lifted the heavy lid. Inside, she found a stack of old, yellowed papers, letters, documents, and photographs. Her hands trembled as she sifted through the pile, each piece revealing more about her family's past than she could have ever imagined. At the bottom of the chest, she discovered a leather-bound book. It was thick, its pages worn and brittle. She opened it to the first page and gasped. There, written in her father's handwriting, were words she never thought she would see. The truth must remain buried, for if it is revealed, it will destroy everything. The weight of the words hit Lily like a ton of bricks. What had her father known? What was so dangerous that it could tear their family apart? But before she could read further, a noise from behind her made her jump. The torchlight flickered again, casting strange shadows across the room. Someone was coming. Lily's heart raced as she quickly closed the chest, the leather-bound book still clutched in her trembling hands. She had to hide before whoever was coming found her down here. The footsteps grew louder, echoing off the stone walls, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, except for one place. The shadows behind a large stone column loomed like the only sanctuary. With no time to think, Lily darted toward the column, pressing her back against the cold stone. She held her breath, praying that whoever was coming wouldn't see her. The footsteps stopped just short of the chamber entrance, and for a moment, all was silent. Then, a voice, cold, low, and familiar, cut through the quiet. "She's here somewhere," Henry's voice echoed through the darkness. "She can't be far." Lily's heart sank. Henry. What was he doing down here? Had he followed her? Was he aware of the hidden passage? The last time they spoke, he had been distant, preoccupied with the sale of Hawthorn Hill. The thought of him knowing what she had just discovered sent a chill through her. The footsteps resumed, this time slower, more deliberate. Henry was searching for her. Lily pressed herself further into the shadows, not daring to move. She could hear his voice again, closer now. "I know you're here, Lily. I don't want to do this, but you're making me. Just come out. We need to talk." His words were laced with frustration, but there was something else. Something darker in his tone that made Lily's stomach churn. Why did he sound so different? She had never heard him speak like this before, not even during their most heated arguments. This was something else entirely. Lily's mind raced. She couldn't let him find her. Not yet. She needed to understand what had happened, what her father had been hiding. But Henry was getting closer, and she could feel the weight of his gaze sweeping the room, as if he could sense her presence. With a burst of adrenaline, Lily made her move. She didn't want to be caught, but she couldn't stay hidden forever. Quietly, she slipped out from behind the column and darted to the far side of the room. She could see the faint outline of the staircase that led back to the surface, but it was too far. Henry was already near the chest, his hands touching the scattered papers that had fallen when she opened it. Lily's mind was spinning. What had her father known? What secrets had he left behind? And why was Henry acting this way? She needed answers, and she needed them now. As quietly as she could, she crept toward the chest, her eyes scanning the papers strewn about. Her fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. Her heart skipped a beat. It was a ring. A gold ring, unlike anything she had ever seen before. It glimmered faintly in the torchlight, and as Lily picked it up, a sense of dread washed over her. There was something significant about this ring. She could feel it in her bones. She turned it over in her hands and saw something etched into the inside. A name, but not her father's. It was someone else's name, someone she didn't recognize. Before she could think further, a voice called out from the entrance of the chamber. "There you are." Henry had spotted her. The look in his eyes was unlike anything Lily had ever seen. It was a mix of anger, fear, and something else, something that made her skin crawl. "You shouldn't have come here, Lily. You don't understand what you're getting yourself into," Henry said, his voice low but urgent. Lily stood her ground, holding the ring tightly in her hand. She could feel her pulse racing, but she refused to show any fear. She needed to know the truth. She needed to hear him say it. "Henry," she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her chest. "What are you hiding? What is all of this? Why did father hide this from us?" Henry stepped forward, his face darkening with something Lily couldn't quite place. "Some things are better left buried, Lily," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "You don't want to know the truth. Trust me." Lily's eyes narrowed. "No. I want to know the truth. All of it." A tense silence fell between them as the weight of their shared history hung in the air. Henry's expression faltered for just a moment, and in that moment, Lily knew he was hiding something much darker than she could imagine. Without warning, Henry lunged toward her, his hand reaching out to grab the ring from her fingers. But Lily was faster. She jerked her hand away and took a step back, the distance between them now growing. She wasn't going to let him take this from her. Not when it felt like the key to everything. "Tell me, Henry," she demanded, her voice cutting through the tension. "What's going on? What did father know? And why did he leave me this?" Henry hesitated for a moment, and Lily saw something flicker in his eyes, a mix of guilt and fear. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but then, suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The walls shook, and dust fell from the ceiling in a shower of small particles. Lily's heart skipped a beat. What was happening? Before she could react, the torchlight flickered, and the chamber was plunged into darkness. They emerged from the tunnel into the root cellar just as a low, grinding roar shook the ground beneath them. Dust spilled from the ceiling, and old shelves rattled. Mr. Pemberton slammed the trapdoor shut and twisted the iron latch into place, though both knew it wouldn't hold forever. Lily clutched the locket tightly, its silver surface warm against her palm, as if it carried its own pulse. They stumbled out into the overgrown garden, the sun low in the sky. Hawthorn Hill loomed above them, its shadow long and solemn. But something was wrong. The house felt alive. The windows seemed darker, as though something watched from within. Ivy, which had once clung passively to the stone walls, now twisted like veins, creeping along the sills and gutters as if drawn by something ancient and unsettled. Mr. Pemberton cursed under his breath. "They've awakened it." "Who?" Lily turned to him, voice shaking. "Not who. What?" He stared at the house with grim familiarity. Hawthorn Hill was built with more than stone and timber. There's an old magic in this land. Charlotte Avery knew it. She harnessed it to protect what was hers. "And now?" Lily asked. "Now it knows you're here. And it won't let go until it gets what it wants." They hurried inside the house through the back door, which groaned open on rusted hinges. The once familiar halls now seemed warped, subtly wrong, angles that didn't match, corners that stretched too far. The air inside was thick, like breathing through wool. They passed the parlor, where the portrait of Charlotte Avery hung crooked, her eyes no longer soft but piercing, following Lily's every step. In the study, Lily opened the book again. Its pages had begun to change. What were once blank or faded were now inked with handwritten notes and diagrams. Maps of the estate, coded language, and symbols she didn't recognize. "The house is responding to you," Mr. Pemberton said. "It's remembering." Lily's fingers stopped on a page marked with a red wax seal. Beneath it was a phrase. "Only the blood may open the gate." Before she could speak, a loud creak echoed from upstairs. Floorboards groaned under unseen footsteps. Lily stiffened. "Is someone else in the house?" Mr. Pemberton grabbed the fireplace poker, holding it tight. "Not someone. Not exactly." From above, a door slammed shut, then another. The lights flickered. Then silence. Lily took a step back, clutching the locket to her chest. Then came a whisper. Her name. Lily. It came from the hallway. From the drawing room. From upstairs. All at once. She turned, heart racing. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," Mr. Pemberton said grimly. "And it's calling you." Lily pressed the locket against her heart as the whispering grew louder, echoing through the halls. Mr. Pemberton stayed close, his eyes scanning every shadow. They stepped into the drawing room, where the grand fireplace yawned dark and empty. The air felt thick, charged as though the house itself held its breath. On the far wall, behind a heavy velvet tapestry, they saw it, an ornate iron door set into the stone. Lily's breath caught. The door was small but commanding, its surface etched with the same swirling patterns found on the locket. In its center was a keyhole, stained crimson. Beneath it, the words carved into the iron read, "Blood for blood." Her pulse thundered in her ears. "This must be the gate," she whispered. Mr. Pemberton nodded. "Only the blood may open it." Lily opened the locket. Inside lay two tiny compartments. One held her great-grandmother's portrait, the other a small drop of dried brownish liquid. The locket's inner rim bore an inscription. "One life for another." Her stomach twisted. "A sacrifice?" He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "A promise made long ago." Gathering courage, Lily pressed the locket against the keyhole. A faint hum filled the room. She felt warmth spread from her chest down her arm, as though the locket drew life from her. The iron door shuddered. Dark lines crept along its edges, and a faint glow pulsed through the carvings. Lily gasped. Pain lanced through her fingertips. She gripped Mr. Pemberton's arm. "It's working," he said quietly. With a final shudder, the door swung open, revealing a deep alcove. Within stood a marble pedestal, upon which rested a single sealed parchment. The voice whispered again, urging her forward. Lily stepped through the threshold. As she did, the door slammed shut behind them. Mr. Pemberton caught her arm. "We go together," he said. She nodded, heart pounding. Together they advanced. At the pedestal, Lily reached out. The parchment bore the Bennett family crest, now tarnished. Her hand trembled as she broke the seal. Inside was a declaration, a legal document from 1913, signed by Charlotte Avery and witnessed by prominent figures, stating that the true ownership of Hawthorne Hill belonged to her lineage, and that anyone who claimed otherwise had swindled the family. Lily's eyes widened. At last, the truth. Her ancestors' rightful claim, hidden to protect it, was now hers. But as she lifted the parchment, the alcove began to tremble. Stones cracked, dust filled the air. The house shook as though enraged. Mr. Pemberton shouted, "We must leave now." Clutching the document, Lily turned back toward the door, but the path was blocked. The iron door had sealed itself again. The whispering voice grew frantic. "Free me! Free me!" Lily realized with a start. The house was alive, bound to the deception laid centuries ago. It demanded release. She swallowed hard. To escape, she would have to confront the very heart of Hawthorne Hill, and fulfill the promise made in blood. Lily squared her shoulders. "I'm ready." Lily stood before the sealed iron door, the parchment trembling in her hand. The frantic whisper now surged into a single clear voice, echoing in her mind. "Fulfill the promise. Set me free." Mr. Pemberton placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "The promise, blood for blood. You must honor it." Lily's gaze fell on the locket she still held. She opened it, revealing her great-grandmother's portrait and the dried drop of blood. Its meaning was clear at last. She lifted the locket to the carved inscription. One life for another. Her breath trembled. I understand. She pressed the portrait gently against the iron surface, then let a single drop of her own blood fall onto the dried stain in the keyhole. The moment her blood touched the metal, the carvings glowed fiercely. A roar of ancient power filled the room. The iron door shuddered, then swung open. A rush of warm light poured from within, carrying with it the scent of summer blossoms. The whisper transformed into a sigh of relief. Thank you. Lily and Mr. Pemberton stepped through the threshold into a hidden courtyard bathed in golden light. The air was alive with scent, jasmine, rose, and honeysuckle, and the garden around them had transformed. Overgrown vines were trimmed back. Flowers bloomed bright and unblemished. At the courtyard center stood a stone fountain, dry and cracked. Water now sparkled in its basin, singing as it flowed. Lily approached and placed the parchment on the fountain's edge. Beneath her touch, the Bennett crest shimmered and then blurred, reforming into the original Avery family emblem, a hawthorn tree surrounded by ivy. It's done, Mr. Pemberton whispered. The house is free. Lily listened as the wind carried a gentle chorus of voices, her ancestors' gratitude. She felt warmth in her chest, the weight of centuries lifting. She turned to Mr. Pemberton. Evermore Manor, Hawthorn Hill, both free now. He smiled softly. And so are we. As dawn broke over the hills of Derbyshire, the mansion behind them radiated peace. No longer a prison of secrets, it stood as a testament to truth and renewal. Lily clasped the locket, her heart light. She knew her family's legacy was secure, and that this summer, her last summer at Hawthorn Hill, would be remembered not for its shadows, but for the light they had restored.